Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Fake Dating the Player by Clarissa Mckay, narrated by Lou Banks and Bradley Ford. Chapter 1, Josie. There are many things I'm grateful for. Indoor plumbing, Nutella, my aunt and uncle, the internet. The list is virtually endless. But if there's a list of things I can totally do without, the number one on it is Nathan Alexander. To be more specific, I can totally do without my aunt and Mrs. Alexander constantly crooning about how they think Nathan and I would make a cute couple. I would rather a surgeon cut into me without anesthesia than date someone as arrogant and holier-than-thou as Nathan. Of course, no matter how many times I voice that, though a lot more nicely than Nathan deserves, it doesn't seem to get through Aunt Lydia and Mrs. Alexander's heads. They've been sailing this boat since Nathan and I were kids, and now we're in college, and, if anything, they've only begun steering the ship more determinedly no matter the rough waters Nathan and I send their way. They're tenacious, I'll give them that, if not exhausting. 10 minutes from our home, the Bleakers are throwing their annual end-of-summer party. It's around 65 degrees, so summer really is over, but that's the norm for New England warm weather. The backyard is filled with families from all over town. Families with kids about to start or return to middle school, high school, or college. Little kids enjoy soda and juice while the adults sip their beers or alcoholic seltzers, and I crave for a sip or 2 or 10 because of the conversation I'm currently stuck in. It's going to be so exciting, isn't it? You and Nate are in the same dorm building. How perfect. Mrs. Alexander grins, the smile lines on her face soft and her dimples deep. I shake my head in exasperation, a helpless chuckle escaping me as I sip the Sprite that's doing absolutely nothing for me right now. It's not enough that Nathan and I attend the same college, where he's about to start his junior year and I'm starting my sophomore, but over the summer we found out that we were placed in the same dorm building, too. It's not too surprising, given that the building is known to house those in our grades, with the freshmen having their own building and the seniors having theirs plus the on-campus apartments. But as soon as his mom and my aunt found out we'd be living in the same building, they'd been ecstatic. They truly believe if Nathan and I actually spend any time together, we'd get along great, which is delusional, frankly. My only reprieve is that we're on the opposite sides of the building, as he's with the juniors and I'm with the sophomores. Yeah, but I mean, I start, chuckling a little awkwardly as I shrug. I don't know if we'll see each other that much, you know? He's got hockey and I've got a bunch of labs this semester, so... Aunt Lydia shakes her head with a huff, unimpressed. I don't know why you two are so against being friends, she says with a roll of her eyes. She fixes me with a solemn look, but I can see the mirth dancing in her hazel eyes as she asks almost wistfully, "Where did we go wrong with you two?" "You're hilarious," I say, in a rare show of sarcasm, which only makes my aunt chuckle and Mrs. Alexander shake her head fondly. Aunt Lydia and Uncle Colin have been best friends with the Alexanders for years, way before my cousin Julie, Nathan, and I were born. They've been friends and neighbors for that long, and I guess it was their hope that their kids would become as good of friends as they are. My aunt and uncle have raised me as their own since I was 5, after my mom died in a car accident. My dad had passed away before I was born, so Aunt Lydia and Uncle Colin took me in. They never made me feel the absence of a parent, and I owe them everything. Except maybe becoming friends, much less date Nathan. My aunt and uncle love Nathan, and I don't see why they wouldn't. In front of them, he turns on the charm and is a smooth talker. I guess he's good-looking, with tousled light brown hair and bright blue eyes that stand out, and a smile with dimples that he inherited from his mother. He's tall, with the muscled build of an ice hockey player, and I've lived next to him long enough to know of the revolving door of women that have been in and out of his bedroom since he was like 15, except for that one period when he was 16 and had been dating Gwen Walton for 6 months. But as charming as Nathan appears in front of our parents, he can be an equal jerk towards me. When we were younger, we'd been friends because we were kids and neighbors, and our parents always made Nathan, Julie, and me hang out. But when 8th grade came around, Nathan found new friends to hang around with. His athleticism and good looks, I can begrudgingly admit, gave him popularity, while I didn't care for any of that. We drifted apart, naturally, even if we weren't best friends to begin with. And as that happened, his ego started growing until it could house an entire damn civilization. And now, it'd be a miracle if we said anything more than a strained, yet polite greeting to one another at these kinds of parties. Kids these days, Mrs. Alexander muses with a shake of her head as I tune back into the conversation. They don't see what's right in front of them. Oh, God, they're still on this. I take a step away from the two women, shooting them a quick smile as I say, I'm gonna get another drink. Preferably something stronger. I walk towards the table of food and drinks, dodging past a gaggle of giggling middle schoolers who are running around and enjoying themselves. Instead of reaching for the soda, I grab a can of White Claw, popping it open. I may be a few months shy of 21, but my aunt and uncle don't care if I drink, so long as I do it responsibly. They're pretty laid back on most things, so whatever rules they have, I do my best not to break them. Thankfully, this isn't one of them. As I sip the seltzer, my gaze wanders around the backyard. Music is playing from a Bluetooth speaker somewhere, though it's mostly drowned out by the hum of chatter. Mr. Bleecker is grilling hot dogs and burgers, and there are even a couple of dogs running around each other, having their own fun. My eyes land on my cousin Julie, who is sitting on the ground next to one of her friends as they chat, and part of me wants to go over and sit with them, but I know I wouldn't be welcomed. We may have grown up together, but saying we're friendly, much less sisterly, would be an overstatement. I let out a sigh, realizing for the first time how tired I feel. I'd spend most of today packing up since we'll be moving to campus soon, and the exhaustion is slowly hitting me all at once. Careful, wouldn't want to break your good girl image. My shoulders immediately tense at the familiar drawl, and I glance to my left to see the devil himself standing next to me. I'm unsurprised because if Nathan was to ever start a conversation willingly with me, it'd be to annoy or insult me, or both. My expression tightens with annoyance. He knows how much it bothers me when he refers to me as that, as if there's something wrong with being a decent student and daughter. I guess it's my fault for letting him know my irritation with it. Why? Because I'm drinking? I ask, scoffing. Get some new material, Nathan? Someone's a little wound up tight, he says, scooping up a handful of mini pretzels from the bowl and popping one in his mouth. I shoot him a withering look, one reserved just for him. You would be too if you spent the last 15 minutes with your mom and my aunt as they talk about how good we'll look together. Nathan's face scrunches up, lips turning down at my words. Although my reaction had more or less been the same when I was talking to Aunt Lydia and Mrs. Alexander, my cheeks now flush as I tell Nathan. For some reason, it always feels embarrassingly vulnerable discussing our mom's dream of the two of us getting together. It's weird and always makes my stomach flip-flop. I'm convinced it's nausea. Jesus Christ, Nathan grunts with a shake of his head. Will they ever let up? I sip my drink. Probably not, I respond, especially when I catch the two of them watching us from a distance. They're like gossiping high schoolers, and I'm not sure if it's more amusing or exasperating. A few hours later, my tiredness from earlier is encroaching on exhaustion, and I want nothing more than to go home and collapse in bed. But I know Aunt Lydia and Uncle Colin, they're always the last ones to leave a party, and I know they're not ready to head home yet. I try to keep myself busy by sitting with a couple of high schoolers, playing some card games, when a couple on the other side of the yard catches my attention. Recognition hits me instantly. They're Mr. and Mrs. Dillon, the parents of Nathan's best friend, Jackson. Jackson passed away when he was 17, right before graduating high school. His death had devastated the entire community, especially Nathan, who had seemed so lost after losing his best friend. It's the only time I ever pitied Nathan, feeling something other than annoyance and aggravation toward him. The sight of Jackson's parents reminds me of Nathan, and my gaze wanders, trying to find him. Has he seen Jackson's parents yet? Did he talk to them? The round of card game we're playing finishes, and I excuse myself and go to find my aunt and uncle. I'm tired enough to really want to leave, and when I approach them, I find them standing with Nathan and his parents. Coming up next to Aunt Lydia, I catch her attention and murmur, "I'm gonna Uber home. I'm getting pretty tired." Before Aunt Lydia can say anything, Mrs. Alexander pipes up, "You don't have to Uber, sweetheart." She pats Nathan's back, smiling. "Nate's heading home now, too. He can give you a ride." My gaze instantly slides over to Nathan, who looks as bemused at this as I do, his lips pursed. I'd much rather Uber than get in Nathan's car with him. Even I can hear the stubbornness in that, but I don't care. Still, I wonder why Nathan's leaving, and part of me wonders if it's because of the Dillons' arrival. With a huff, Nathan pulls his car keys out of his pocket, not even bothering to look at me as he says, "Let's go," and turns to walk off. I refrain from rolling my eyes, telling Aunt Lydia and Uncle Colin that I'll see them at home, and saying a quick goodbye to the Bleekers before following Nathan out. He's already getting into his truck by the time I catch up to him, needing to practically jump up to get inside the vehicle. It's quiet in the truck as Nathan drives, the silence nothing new between us, only disrupted by him switching on the radio. As we drive down the residential streets, my thoughts swim around. I glance at Nathan, noting the tension in his tight jaw and the grip he has on the steering wheel, and my curiosity gets the better of me. Quietly, almost carefully, I ask, "Did you talk to Jackson's parents?" Nathan's tone is razor sharp. I almost flinch at the sound of it as he stops the conversation with a firm, "Don't." The car ride is silent after that.
Chapter 2. Nathan. It's been 4 years since Jackson died, but seeing his parents renews the grief like the day it happened. It's cowardly, I know, to avoid his parents, especially when Mr. and Mrs. Dillon are some of the kindest people I know. But seeing them reminds me of Jackson, and years have passed, and I'm still not good at handling my grief and anger over his loss. A split second. That's all it took for all of our lives to be changed forever. A moment in time where some asshole decided to run a red light, speeding beyond the limit, and collided with Jackson's car. And even though the guy now sits in prison for vehicular manslaughter, it doesn't change the fact that Jackson's gone. The guy who'd been like a brother to me since we were 11, who should be here, starting his junior year of college with me, or the firefighter academy which had been his childhood dream. Instead, he never even got to graduate high school. The tightness combined with heaviness pains my chest as I pull into the driveway of my house, white-knuckling the steering wheel. I'm vaguely aware of Josie mumbling a thanks before hopping out, the sound of the door slamming shut just barely shaking me out of my thoughts. I'm suddenly too aware of the scent of apples that lingers in my car following her departure, mixed with a scent that I think is just Josie, and my nose wrinkles at how easily I'm able to recognize it. It's not a bad smell. It's actually pretty nice. But I've got no business thinking of how good Josie smells. I shake my head and kill the engine of my truck, unbuckling my seatbelt. But right when I throw the door open and am about to jump out, something catches my eye and my peripheral vision, and I realize that Josie forgot her phone. It must have slipped out of her pocket or something. Huffing, I grab it and get out, cross my driveway and her front yard to walk up to the door. She's already inside, given that I don't see her anywhere, and press my finger to the doorbell. I don't let up, distantly hearing it constantly ring inside the house, knowing that it'll irritate her. As expected, the door swings open, and the second Josie's green eyes land on me, she snaps, "What?" It's a tone I've only ever heard her use with me. Her freckled skin flushing with annoyance, and the pink of her cheeks seems deeper thanks to her red hair. Although she shares the same eye color as her aunt, Josie stands out starkly against the rest of her family thanks to her ginger hair. Her aunt is blonde while her uncle and Julie are brunettes. She's the odd one out, a fact I exacerbated in our younger days by teasing Josie with the gingers have no souls comment on a daily basis. I raise my eyebrows, taking note of her freckles, not for the first time. She has thousands of them, and I wonder where else they spread on her body. My thoughts come to a screeching halt as that specific one filters through, and my throat tightens in startlement. What the fuck? Where did that thought come from? Josie is pretty, there's no denying that, but when have I ever even considered her in a semi-sexual context? You're a guy. It's normal, no big deal at all. I cling on to that thought as I pull on a stoic mask and hold up her phone. Josie's gaze darts to it as I say, "You forgot it in my car. I can easily keep it if you don't want it back." Josie purses her lips and makes a reach for it, but I tighten my grip just as her hand grabs the phone, and I pull it out of her reach. Josie stumbles forward slightly at my unexpected action before huffing, her eyes narrowing into a glare. It makes her pierced nose scrunch up. "What are you, 12? Give me my phone back, Nathan." "What, no thank you?" I ask with a mock frown. "Kinda rude, Josephine." Irritation sparks in her eyes, a kind of fire I think she's got reserved especially for me. I can admit to myself, at least, that I enjoy bringing it out of her. "I'm not some girl in your bed who begs because you tell them to. Just give it back." Her words have my lips curling up into a smirk, still holding on to her phone. "You think a lot about being in my bed?" She scoffs, rolling her eyes as she crosses her arms over her chest. "You wish," she retorts. But I see the pink spreading across her cheeks. I raise a lazy eyebrow. Maybe I do. My response has her eyes widening, any previous bravado disappearing from Josie's expression as she gapes at me. My own surprise at my words is more hidden, heart thumping because what the hell am I saying? The mere suggestion of sleeping with Josie goes against whatever relationship based on mutual dislike we've cultivated over the years. We piss each other off and get under each other's skins, lodging insults one another's ways. We definitely don't flirt, or do whatever the hell I'm doing. And still, I don't entirely regret the words, because they serve as a distraction to the thoughts that have been plaguing me since seeing Jackson's parents. What better way to forget about something than to bury myself into something else? Or, in this case, someone else. Josie's throat works, and my gaze grazes her slender neck. "In your dreams," she says, unable to pour her confidence into her words as she stumbles over them slightly. She holds one hand out, though her arms remain crossed. "My phone, Nathan?" Instead of listening to her right away, my gaze dips, taking in the way her long dress clings to her body, to the curves that my fingers suddenly itch to feel. For the first time, I allow myself to admire the woman in front of me, something I don't think I would have ever done, and in that moment I regret not doing it sooner. "You're telling me you never thought about it, Josie?" I ask lazily, slowly reaching out to hand her phone back. Josie doesn't even look at it, her gaze locked with mine, and I wonder if the fire I now see in her eyes is for something other than her annoyance with me. My hand presses to the doorframe, leaning towards her, but keeping enough distance as to not make her uncomfortable. My blood heats when I note that she doesn't increase any space between us. My gaze drops to her mouth, full lips pink and slightly parted. "Or are you too afraid to think of how good it'd be?" Because it would be good. There's a thin line between hate and love, or in this case, lust. And with the tumultuous relationship Josie and I have had over the years, I know for a fact that if we had sex, it'd be explosive. Josie scoffs lightly, trying to put on a mask of indifference. But it falls flat when her eyes flicker down to my mouth as she says, "I'm not afraid of anything that has to do with you." That's a challenge if I've ever heard one. I lock gazes with her. Prove it. Those two simple words heavy the tension in the air, electricity cracking between us that only we can hear. I don't realize how close I've gotten until I can hear the hitch in her breath, can once again smell that damn apple scent that clings to her. I'm leaning into her like a magnet drawn closer and closer, and Josie makes no move to put any distance between us. Inches separate us, and my heart is thundering as she says a little breathlessly, "This is a bad idea." Oh, most definitely, probably one of my worst, but at this moment, as her scent wraps around me and I'm close enough to count all of those freckles, I can't find it in me to give a shit. I take the risk and bring my mouth to her ear, feeling her tense slightly at the proximity. Closer than we've ever been before, and murmur, "Live a little, Josephine." If there's anything Josie wants to do when it comes to me, it's to prove me wrong and rise to a challenge. Still, for a moment, I feel every part of me freeze when she suddenly turns her head and slants her lips against mine. I never thought she would be capable of making my heart stop, even for a moment. But she does. I don't dwell on that dangerous thought. I feel her soft mouth on mine, and I'm spurred into action, one arm sliding around her waist to pull her close as I kiss her back feverishly. Her hands grip my biceps as I slide my tongue along the seam of her lips, and she parts her mouth so I can slide my tongue in, deepening the kiss that has lit a fire within my veins. My other hand slides up and buries itself in her hair, tangling my fingers in the soft strands as I walk forward and inside the house, kicking the door shut behind me. She tastes like the seltzer she had at the party, yet somehow sweet, too, and the softness of her lips drives me crazy. My grip on her hair tightens, which pulls a moan out of Josie, sending the blood rushing to my dick as I walk us through the house I know as well as my own, right in the direction of Josie's bedroom. There's a voice in the back of my head, warning me to think this through, but I shove it away as I feel Josie's hands slide down until her fingers are untucking my shirt from my jeans. Our movements are as frenzied as our kiss when we enter her room, and I kick that door shut, too, my hands gripping the material of her dress at the thighs before pulling it up. "Off," I demand against her mouth. Josie listens and pulls the dress off, her hair cascading down her freckled shoulders like liquid fire, and she's left in nothing but a white lacy bra and matching underwear. The electricity in my veins intensifies at the sight of her before me, my dick hardening at the flush and freckles that do indeed spread all over her. Her family had spent the summer in Florida, but the tan does nothing to hide those freckles, and the white of her underwear stands out starkly against her smooth skin. I'm vaguely aware I've never wanted someone more, even as I reconcile with the fact that this is Josie fucking Turner in front of me. Despite her heavy breathing and kiss-swollen lips, Josie looks at me expectantly, and I can't stop myself from smirking as I lift my own shirt off before undoing the button and zipper of my jeans, towing off my shoes. I'm keenly aware of her green eyes watching my every move, which only thickens the tension in the air as I take off my jeans, leaving my own underwear on. When Josie drags her gaze back up to my eyes, my skin on fire everywhere her eyes touched, I lift my chin and step towards her. My fingers cup her jaw, my thumb pressing against her chin as I promise slowly, "You're gonna be begging for it." Her throat works, cheeks flushed. "We'll see." I grin wickedly at her words, at the arrogance that only sometimes makes an appearance. "On the bed, Josephine." Indignation lights up in her eyes, as it always does whenever I call her by her full name. She hesitates for a split second before she gets on the bed, crawling backwards and resting on her elbows as she watches me climb onto the mattress on my knees. She doesn't think she'll be begging for me? I can't wait to prove her wrong. My hands grasp her hips and Josie gasps as I yank her towards me, my fingers hooking under the band of her panties before tugging them down and off her legs before placing my hands on her inner thighs and spreading her legs open. The cool metal of the few rings I wear are probably a startling sensation against her warm skin, judging by the way her muscles twitch. My own muscles tighten at the sight of her bare before me, and a smirk full of nothing but pure male satisfaction spreads on my mouth when I see how wet she is for me. I lay down between her legs, keeping them open, and my gaze is locked with hers as I flatten my tongue and lick a stripe up her pussy, earning another sharp gasp from her. I groan at the initial taste of her on my tongue, and don't hesitate in licking through her folds as Josie's head drops back and she moans, "Oh, God, yes." I want to tell her that I'm the one who's making her feel this way, not God, but I don't want to pull away from her. Instead, I slide a hand across her hips, and in tandem with my tongue licking and sucking her pussy, my thumb starts teasing her clit, making her jerk slightly at the sensation. Josie fists the comforter beneath her, soft, gentle moans escaping her as I feast on her delicious taste, unable to tear my eyes away from the sight of her chest rising and falling with her shallow breaths. My free hand slides up her torso before cupping a handful of her breast over the material of her bra, and my blood hums when Josie doesn't hesitate in reaching behind her and unclasping the offending item and tossing it aside. My hand is back on her breast, feeling the supple skin beneath my palm and using my fingers to tweak and tease a perky pink nipple. I love how responsive she is, leaning into my touch as one of her hands buries itself in my thick hair, pulling me closer to her pussy as I tease her clit with my teeth, making her cry out. I can feel her body tense, and I know she's about to come, continuing my ministrations as I bring her closer and closer to the edge. But right when I know her orgasm is about to crash through her, I pull away, and Josie lets out a cry of frustration as she lifts her head and glares at me with eyes glazed over with lust. "What the hell, Nathan?" she asks, her voice hoarse and breathless, cheeks flushed. Fuck. I never thought I'd see this sight, and I tell myself not to get lost in it. My dick is painfully hard, but I push that thought aside as I lock gazes with her. "You want to come?" I ask, the corner of my mouth curving up as I tease a finger through her slit. I bite back a curse when her pussy clenches around the digit, fighting the urge to bury myself deep inside of her. "Be a good girl and beg for it, and you'll get what you want." She exhales sharply, gaping at me despite her heavy breathing. "You're such a dick," she breathes out. I click my tongue, not offended in the slightest. "No, you want my dick." I slowly pull my finger out of her pussy, and I don't think I can get any harder than I do at the sight of her arousal coating my finger, the taste of it still dancing on my tongue. "And you can have it if you just listen to me." Josie clenches her jaw, and I can see the internal war that's waging inside of her head through those expressive eyes. Her pride comes out to play whenever I challenge it, and a big part of me wants to see her push it aside in this vulnerable position she's in. The skin of her neck tightens as I very slowly, very deliberately push my finger back into her pussy, then pull it out.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?